But going into last season in that loss in the Eastern Conference Finals, Indiana definitely was a championship team in disguise. And they really took that mask off when they got to the finals. I believe had Leon Rose and the Knicks front office actually waited before firing Tibbs and just kind of let that finals pass by, their reevaluations on the job that he did would be a lot different.
So they lost to Indiana. In the rematch the following year, Indiana ascended and became a better team than the Knicks.
I think the Knicks are a surface level trade away from making it to the finals.
No, Rich, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I believe you and your boy LeBron are a surface level away from making it to the fucking play-in. Let's keep it a buck. And it's only going to be a matter of time before Laker fans start picking up that Rob Pelinka does not know what he's doing and he's going to waste Luka's prime years in LA. It's amazing how he has Luka and LeBron on his team, but yet barely made any offseason moves.
I think the Knicks are a surface level trade away from making it to the finals.
I agree.
Yeah.
And and you know who you would bring in? You would bring in some version of Mikal Bridges who's a little better than he is. And I'm not knocking Bridges. It's like what got me thinking about this was both games last night.
I'm not touching my wings. I'm not touching my wings.
So what are you doing?
I think it's somewhere in the guard vicinity.
Because you have to make up for okay. I'll go with that. The issue they have in the backcourt is you have one guy who's a defensive liability, but he has to be on the floor because he's incredible offensively, and he's the engine of your whole team. And you have another guy who doesn't like last night when Josh Hart started hitting everything, they win the game. If Hart was a 40% 3-point shooter, then they might not need anything, but he's not.
Yeah, look again. Josh Hart is another winning player. See, I think you're underestimating the winning guys that they have on the team.
I love Hart. I don't want Hart to go anywhere. I love Bridges. I like these. I love their team.
Yeah,
I'm saying they paid for a player in Bridges. They paid a certain amount. And the reason they paid that amount is when they were squinting at Bridges in Brooklyn and thinking if that's who they thought they were getting, and they got a version of that didn't ascend, right? It's not quite as much as they need.
You can make the argument, yeah, it's needed.
And Josh Hart doesn't shoot it well enough.
You need things in the cupboard like draft picks if you want to make a big splash deal down the road.
And he's stuck on the whole you gave up 5 draft picks. That era is over. Luka Doncic got traded for 1 draft pick. Does it mean he's worth that? No. It's circumstantial. And a lot of the draft picks the Knicks did have, some of them might not convert because they were protected picks. So continuing on, every once in a while, Rich Paul, he throws in a little praise for the Knicks. And he admits the truth of why all the other fan bases almost come together like Thanos and hate on the Knicks.
They have to go 3-0. The Eagles have to go 0-3.
Eagles not going 0-3.
No.
But it's just always better when the Cowboys are in the playoffs.
I don't know about that. I think
it is. It's just like it's better when the Knicks are in the playoffs.
I think
the league is in trouble. But here's what I want to say.
Does that mean this year?
It could be this year.
That's what I'm saying. The cup might
possibly
be a preview of the finals. Knicks and Spurs could be the finals.
See, I got to keep my eye on you because you say stuff just because it's New York, right? But I listen.
You see the way Towns has been playing defense recently?
Towns has stepped it up. Here's the thing. I always said the Knicks are a surface level trade of getting to the finals, not surface level.
What's surface level mean?
I just think somewhere in the guard space, right?
Okay.
Because, like when the Pistons won, one day it was Aguirre, one day it was
if
Vinny
Josh
Johnson.
Hart shot it better from 3, they wouldn't need anything.
I'm just saying
but they need a little something.
Surface level trade. But think about the Spurs for a second. The way you win against the Thunder is what they shown us. They had guys that can switch, right?
Yeah.
They had guys, you talk about advancing the ball, straight off the rebound, boom, kicking it ahead. Guys made shots. If the Spurs make shots, they're a very tough team to beat, fully healthy. But they got 5 guys that can make a play.
That's the thing. That, like what you just said, when the Warriors had Dre at the 5 and played 5 out because he had so much space to shoot and then so he shot like 38% from 3 1 year.
And they had those shooters coming off the misdirection and
it's crazy.
slipping and they back.
But what this is on the Spurs is you got 5 dudes who are all playmakers and one of them is 7'5" or whatever he is.
Well,
it's a whole
Well, can we talk
lot.
about this for a second?
The Knicks in reality do have the playmakers to make it happen on the offensive end. But unlike the Spurs, they don't play with the same level of physicality. Or should I say, unlike the Oklahoma City Thunder that kind of have the same makeup as the Knicks. They play small, but their guys are way more physical. Lou Dort, SGA, Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe. That level of physicality makes up for that size difference.
Because I tell you, man, the Thunder and the Spurs are serious.
Right.
I think the Knicks, first of all, when you have Mike Brown, you can't BS with Mike Brown. There's no BSing with Mike Brown. You got to defend. You have to defend.
He's also an interesting choice to succeed Thibodeau because Tibbs, to me, Tibbs is the kind of guy, if you're going to use him as a head coach, you bring into the organization to get you to a certain level.
Do you know what tree Mike Brown's from?
What tree? When he took over head coach of Cleveland, I'm trying to think of, I can't think of it.
I believe he was an assistant coach in Golden State during their run. You fellas could correct me on that, but I believe he was there during one of their championship years or years that they got to the finals.
But Brown is like, Tibbs gets you to a certain level, and Mike.
I thought Tibbs was great though.
He did, but like at a certain point, the team is playing with such intensity all year. Guys are accruing a lot of minutes, et cetera, and it's usually he bumps up against the second round of the playoffs, and it's interesting to me.
One year guys went down.
That's true, and they would have beaten the pace. They would have beaten the pace, but even you go down if you're logging all these minutes all year, you're more likely to go down.
Well, you can't have it both ways.
Why not?
You can't say, don't play guys. You mad at guys for having load management, but then you saying don't play guys.
No,
not
not load management, but I mean, Tibbs goes to short rotations probably earlier in the season than most. Because he is, what I like about Tibbs is
he's always had that
he
issue.
gets you competitive right away. He cares about winning this game, and that gets your franchise to a certain level of competitiveness and professionalism and all that stuff. But because he is focusing on winning every single game throughout the regular season, playing both sides of the ball, the whole thing, there's a certain limit at the playoffs. I bring all this up to say Mike Brown was not the first guy I had in mind for the Knicks, but he seems to be the right guy for the job for them to take the next step.
Well, he was the familiar pick. He was a safe pick. He was a tenured pick also, because when you think about it, he went to the finals. I can't even tell you how many times Mike Brown's been to the finals as a coach in general at this point.
Yeah, he definitely was there for the Golden State run. This is what Rich Paul is making reference to. That's why he said as a coach overall.
We know he went as a head coach in 2007. He went as an assistant in Golden State. I think more than once, right? So when you really put everything on the board, I mean, who's actually more suited? But let me ask you this question. This leads to something. Do you think Tibbs was... Sometimes guys become head coaches because they just become head coaches. But do you think they have more value as assistant head coaches?
Yeah.
I would say Tibbs is definitely a head coach because everywhere he's gone, he's brought success there. And then once he's left, things haven't been the same. I believe this season is the very first time, depending on how it ends, that the Knicks are more than likely to experience success after a Tom Thibodeau departure. The Minnesota Timberwolves missed the playoff the next 2 seasons, and the Chicago Bulls, once he left, they've never been the same, even today. So Tibbs definitely deserves his credit. The only thing is that the media, they're always trying to troll the Knicks no matter what they do. They were dropping headlines on Tibbs saying that he was the least favorable coach that most players wanted to play for. And then as soon as we plateaued in the playoffs and we let him go, all of a sudden was like, why did the Knicks let go of Tibbs? You can't win with these parasites. It's the same fucking trap that they laid out with winning the Emirates Cup. Oh, they can't celebrate too hard, but why didn't they hang up the banner? It is what it is. They truly hate who they really love.
There, by the way, I brought up Josh McDaniels earlier. When you look at the Patriots, when they went bananas offensively, it was Josh McDaniels as the OC. Then he gets a head coaching job. Now, usually this happens with defensive coordinators, right? And Keyshawn Johnson always used to say when we were doing radio, I want a defensive coordinator with dandruff on the shoulders, like an older guy, because he doesn't have ambition to be a head coach. He's just doing his job.
Yeah.
And Josh McDaniels is like that. Tried as a head coach, didn't exactly work out. Now he's back with the Pats as the OC, and it looks right again, right? And if the Pats wind up winning a Super Bowl with Drake May and Vrabel, it's McDaniels who will straddle the Belichick, Brady, Vrabel, May eras, right? Like, it's interesting to me. There's like an example of an offensive head coach, Tex Winter with Phil Jackson in Chicago, in LA. It's the same thing. It works, right? I believe that Thibodeau as a head coach,
Clemens was also a big piece of that coaching staff too.
Thibodeau to me is a coach, as I said. If you want to get your organization competitive again, bring Tibbs in as a head coach. If you want to win a championship, he's basically your D coordinator. He's basically your assistant coach that's coaching up the defense.
So do you think some coaches...
He'd be a good fit with D'Antoni.
That sounds good on paper, but I don't think it would end up working out regardless. Because Steve Nash, when he was with the Brooklyn Nets, he had Ume Udoka and Mike D'Antoni as assistant coaches, and that shit still didn't work. Once again, Max Kellerman loves playing into these fantasy sports analogies.
Yes.
If D'Antoni's the head coach.
But let me ask you a question. Do you think that some coaches, because it's so confusing, because you want to be, like, you coach to become a head coach, but there's almost this world where it's like, nah, man, I'm going to overpay you.
Definitely.
Because sometimes organizations is like, oh, we can't pay him that he's not a head coach. Well, if it impacts winning, then pay him to stay.
But I got to tell you, I think the key to that game, and I want to say it was Stan Van Gundy who brought it up on the broadcast, was Mike Brown's handling of the game late. When he brought Kolick in at the end of that game to have another ball handler, decision maker on the floor, to me, that's what iced that game for the Knicks.
I think Mike Brown has saw enough basketball.
For sure.
I think really good coaches could not be afraid to throw a guy. But Kolick has showed he's an NBA player, capable of playing in those minutes.
But he's not one of your five best players. A lot of coaches want their five best on the floor.
If you watch him play in college, first of all, he's a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make winning plays. He shoots it well, right? And he's just steady. And sometimes you need those steady guys, especially in those moments. And a coach like Mike Brown, he's going to trust a steady guy over anything, because he hates I'm gonna tell you right now, he hates turning the ball over, and he wants to make sure you're going to compete. Two things with Mike Brown, because he's old school, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I first met Mike Brown, I never forget, he got the job in Cleveland, and we went out to dinner. And back then, coaches used to have to wear their suits. And Mike Brown, I used to get on him all the time, because I said, Mike, you're gonna fracture your big toe, because you stumping them Stacey Adams. You know, back then the coaches used to go. It was a store in Atlanta that when they go to Atlanta, I'm telling you, they used to buy so many of these dress shoes. They used to buy.
Hey, not only Rich Paul is giving Mike Brown praise, but he's also showing how, personal their connection is. So don't be shocked after LeBron makes his Laker exit if Clutch Sports finds a way to slither into the Knicks situation.
And I was making this joke about Mike Brown. Now he put the Chucks on. Now they saved him.
I see that, yeah.
He put or he wears Vans or whatever, shoe that he wears. But I know Mike Brown, and I know the type of basketball he wants to play, so I'm not necessarily surprised by that. When I look at the league, right, I watched the Knicks and the Sixers, which was a great game, and I think that's becoming a thing. The Knicks, Sixers is becoming a thing. They probably see each other every year in the playoffs. You got
Edgecombe, Maxey, they got guys in the backcourt.
You got the Brunson, and Tyrese was, and this is not being Mr. Bias, was special.
Yeah, agreed.
Special.
Yeah.
And I also thought Embiid played better.
Yeah,
he played with a better
Embiid's
energy.
back, yeah.
Now, the Knicks are the Knicks. They're going to be hard fought. It's going to be tough to beat a Mike Brown team. And I know they lost a few games, but they're still really good. And Jalen Brunson's, if the game is close, he can bring you home. You know what Brunson's going to give you. OG actually shot the ball. He had 5 threes last night,
Yeah.
which, he's capable of making threes.
OG shooting the ball very well this
Yeah.
whole year.
But the play of Jordan Clarkson, Mitchell Robinson,
Off the bench, and
Tyler Kolek.
Yep.
And it was one more, but they also was missing McBride.
Yeah.
Landry Shamet wasn't dressed. So they was missing a lot of their shooting, and they still won the game. So the Knicks, look, like I said, I think the Knicks are, and we could talk about this later, but I do think the Knicks, just watching them, they're surface level trade away from really being able to cement themselves. I do think that they are surface level trade away from really positioning themselves. But in things like this shouldn't be a time where you sit back and be complacent. You should actually
Can
get
I say
aggressive.
something? Here's the thing that I think has changed with the Knicks, because 2 years ago they're in the playoffs against the Pacers, and the Knicks were clearly better than the Pacers and only lost that series because they were hurt. They had guys who couldn't play. The following year, though, the Pacers were clearly better than last year. The Pacers were clearly better than the Knicks. They're just better because the Pacers had evolved and gotten better as a group. It was clicking right, and the Knicks hadn't quite taken that step. You know what's changed to me about the Knicks over the last couple weeks? When you think about Karl Anthony Towns coming out of college, he's the #1 overall pick, not just because, oh my God, he can shoot it, he can actually
He's
play
7 feet tall.
7 feet tall,
Yeah.
do all that, but because in the modern NBA, you're big, it needs to be able to defend out in space. And he's built like and has the ability to be that guy. So part of it with him was the projection of the kind of player he could be in the NBA. And what it turned out to be with Karl Anthony Towns for a lot of his career is the offense is what we thought it would be. The defense
Yeah.
didn't follow. That's the difference between him and an MVP caliber player in the last, let's say, month, is strides in that area. And I think that changes the entire Knicks team.
It definitely does. And if Karl Anthony Towns could shoot anywhere from 8 to 11 free throws a game and just increase the number of assists that he's getting, that would completely change the whole aura of this team.
That's the Mike Brown effect.
I think Mike Brown.
Hey, once again, Rich Paul praising Mike Brown. LeBron and Clutch Sports is trying to sneak their way in. They know the vibes.
Was when Jalen Brunson got the MVP last night, but the MVP to me was the coach. The MVP to me was Mike Brown last night.
Well, 2 things Mike Brown, I believe, added to the Knicks, and one Thibodeau always had too. The difference is, and I think Mike actually got this from his time with the Warriors, is he's added, both him and Tibbs, you have to give a valiant effort.
Right.
They are
right.
effort guys, no question about it. But I think where Mike Brown makes a difference is now pace. And when you talk about the Pacers beating the Knicks beat the Knicks because of their pace.
And depth.
Facts. That game 6 in that fourth quarter, the Knicks were gassed, especially Jalen Brunson. The Pacers had Nembhard beating down on his ass ever since the game 1 tip-off. And to counteract that, this season we're seeing a lot more different guys bringing up the ball. Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, just take that load off of Brunson, because Rick Carlisle, I gotta say, he fucking was doing 3D chess moves to just get the Knicks to be in the position that they were in game 6, just being gassed, trying to keep up with the Pacers bench, just dropping 35 points a game. I mean, you could even look at game 5, even though the Knicks won that game, the Pacers bench still dropped almost 60 points. Shit is crazy.
The Pacers beat the Knicks because of their pace.
And depth.
Pace of play. Yeah, but really and they had guys that really,
But wait, let's stop right there. The difference between Mike Brown and Thibodeau to me is Mike Brown's more sophisticated. Mike Brown understands that, yes, we'd like to win today, but the way we're going to win is important because, as you said, a lot of the NBA regular season is getting ready for the playoffs if you're a good team. And Mike Brown understands we can't have 5 guys getting all the minutes and then have no bench to have McBride that we and maybe Mitch that we can rely on.
But I can't say. I'll say Mike Brown, again, taking it away from Tibbs, is just as sophisticated. You know why? Because he learned. Because we don't know what Mike Brown would have done prior to, but knowing, like, if you're coaching after someone else was just there, and it's up to you to recognize what they were doing.
Then you
wrong.
start at a certain.
So right, you start at
like
a certain
Rick Carlisle and Larry Brown with the Pistons back in the same
you start
thing.
at a certain point.
Rick Carlisle gets you all the way there, and then the guy puts you over the top.
I don't know if that's sophistication, but it's definitely an astute thing.
I think
to do.
Mike Brown. I hear you. I think Mike Brown. I think this hits you. I think it hits Mike Brown. I think it hits a lot of people in LeBron James's orbit throughout his career, where they don't get enough credit for what they've done because the snap judgment. It's not that people are being lazy. It's that people are living their lives and they got to have a lot of information to take in and come to these kind of quick conclusions. Well, he's there because of LeBron James. Well, he got enough. People think of him this way because of LeBron James. I think Mike Brown suffers from that when, in fact, it's what's not recognized is the kind of coach he is. What he like as a Knicks, as a little kid who used to be a big Knicks fan.
And you still are, Max, but I get where you're going with this. But once again, peep the way that they're discussing Mike Brown and all the praise and just the way they're branding him within this podcast medium. Not only they're making a soft pitch, but they're also elevating Mike Brown's name. All the topics that they have discussed is very carefully crafted. Make no mistake about it.
In me watching that, it's like when you watch the Tibbs team, you knew that they're not going to win a championship. They're going to burn out. They don't have a bench. He doesn't trust the bench. They're not going to be ready when they're called upon. And this team, completely different. Completely different. You brought up Clarkson, Mitch,
Kolek.
and Kolek.
Yeah.
That's Mike Brown. That's using what you got and not overworking your guys. And I think Knicks fans should be feeling good about the way they're going to be positioned in the playoffs.
What I saw yesterday, different than what I saw before, especially the previous Knicks teams, was he was able to get Brunson off the ball.
Yeah.
And not that he's getting them off of it, to get it back in different ways that makes the defense kind of shift and move around a little bit.
Work a little harder.
Especially when you're putting a bigger guy on Brunson, because that's the only way. Because Brunson is very brolic.
Yep.
And he's crafty as well. And he really shoots the ball really well from three if you go under or catch and shoot.
And the catch and shoot portion is something that Mike Brown this season has unlocked fully with Brunson, because I haven't really seen him in that position since he was in Dallas with Luka. And as the season continues to progress, we're slowly seeing Jalen Brunson elevate his game into, I would say, the James Harden, Mike D'Antoni years when it comes to the proficiency of his shots.
If you go under or catch and shoot, and obviously he comes up in big moments. But that's what I see different. I see a guy like Brunson being able to get off the ball, go back and get into his pick and roll actions, and then again, you got guys slipping, you got guys, they're advancing the ball, you're hitting the short corner, you're making the ball is moving a lot more than it did in the Tibbs offense.
And not only the ball is moving a lot more, but also Brunson is killing guys in the paint. Every time he touches the paint, he is deadly. Looking like Patrick Ewing in there without the post up.
That's
better,
evolution.
The ball is moving, adjustments are made,
but I still
late in
think
games.
If I'm the Knicks and I'm looking at our situation, I'm saying, okay, we're good. We're good. The East is a little depleted. It's a little.
Who do you want to bring in?
All over the place. I definitely think it's from a guard perspective. If you're dissecting, if you break it, what is your playoff rotation? Because you got to cut it to 8 or 9, right?
Yeah, I think we know what it is.
So if you're looking at that, I'm really looking at how do I improve the back four?
Well, so who drops out? So you have your 5 starters plus Mitch, Clarkson, McBride, Kolek. Who's dropping out of that?
Oh, you forgot Shamet too.
Shamet, that's 5 guys.
That's 5 guys.
You're right.
I mean, you could play 10. You're not playing 12.
But you're not playing one of those 5. You're not playing if you're bringing in someone else.
See,
Hey, all of us Knicks fans, these are embarrassment of riches that it feels good. I'm not going to lie. That's a lot of players to try to find minutes for.
Think in the playoffs, right? And this is why depth matters. And I always say this to teams. And this is what players have to understand about being role players. In the playoffs, it's about each series and the style of the fight in each series.
Right.
There may be a playoff series where Clarkson matters, right? And you have to lean on that. But there also may be a playoff series where you need Kolick, you need 2 ball handlers. So it's about having that depth.
When you say bring in a guard, are you talking about a guard who can also defend, a guard who can play make, a guard who can shoot?
I think
you're not going to get all those, or it's a star.
No, I think
so
a little
what are you
bit,
looking at?
I think a little bit more size.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's a good idea.
and that can also play with Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
I like Josh Hart starting, but Josh Hart's the type of player, he's going to do whatever you ask him to do anyway. And
This is the issue with the Knicks structurally. Josh Hart needs to shoot it better from long range. If Josh Hart shot the 3, like he's had a couple seasons in his career where he's not doing it well enough. If he shot the 3 well enough, let's say at least 35% or above for the season, then they're okay. Then the starting 5 is the way you want it. The fact is, the reason you think that about Josh Hart, because he does everything else, is he doesn't shoot it well enough.
Yeah, well, he's never going to shoot it like a Desmond Bane would shoot it, but maybe I'm trying to think of a player that kind of turned themselves into a shooter like that.
And that's where I got to say right here, the Knicks structurally, they're going to have to make another Manuel Quickley type of decision. Like one of the fan favorites is going to have to go for a more complete player that checks all the boxes. He has the size, he could shoot, and he could defend multiple positions. For example, a perfect fit would be someone like Trey Murphy down in New Orleans. But in order to make that happen, there's going to have to be another type of Emmanuel Quickley situation where the fans are seeing a favorite leave the team. It could be Deuce McBride. It could even be Josh Hart. Decisions. And teams that normally elevate into that next level, they make these hard choices. The Boston Celtics when they got rid of Marcus Smart, the Toronto Raptors when they finally moved off of DeRozan, and an example of a team that stayed with a player too long that could have elevated, but it was too late, is the Philadelphia 76ers with Ben Simmons. So Leon Rose entering into yet another season where the team is expected to make a deep playoff run after losing in the Eastern Conference Finals the year before. If the squad does not reach the NBA Finals, it's going to be a lot of tough decisions to make. And who knows, Karl-Anthony Towns will probably be on that list.
On a good team. A guard that
I mean, it's possible.
That came in known for their defense.
Yeah.
Hustle, Josh Hart gets extra possessions.
Tony Allen ever have any seasons where he shot it a little? I mean, it happens
Tony has shot it.
Yeah, he shot it
decently,
okay a couple.
But he was
I mentioned
so
Draymond
good
the other day, not a guard, but Draymond had a season where I think he shot 38 from 3.
Well, if they win that game 7, he wins the MVP of the finals.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that I think when you have a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, if you're playing him at the 5, right, then you have enough spacing on the floor that Josh Hart should be getting really good looks. Like everyone on the floor. OG's shooting it well. Mikal Bridges shoots it well. Obviously, Brunson. Josh Hart's he should be getting good looks enough for him to shoot it well.
But again,
he's not. When Josh Hart shoots it well, they look like they're beating teams.
Not
really
to
good
turn
teams.
him into somebody he's not going to be.
Yeah.
Just go
get that guy?
Yeah. Well, just going. I'm just saying, I never like to be complacent. And sometimes I think teams, you ride this regular season and then you get to a place and you need something. It's like, no.
Who, Rich? Who?
Well, I have to think about it more.
A lot of fair points brought up right here. Contending teams definitely do not want to be complacent. Look at the Golden State Warriors, even after losing the finals in 2016, going after Kevin Durant. So if there's no final appearance for the Knicks this season, we could expect some of our fan favorites to possibly be shipped out.